What will it take to raise the next generation of people like Leonard Euler? The name of this book here is called Euler, the Master of Us All. Euler is the greatest mathematician in terms of volume and several other metrics. He was exceptional, publishing 50 papers a year as a blind mathematician. What will it take to have Eulers and Maxwells and Faradays again? I believe that there's 5 categories of things here that we can use to help raise the next generation of scientists, mathematicians, and thinkers who also know the history and philosophy of science, logic, and theology. My name is Amos, the math guy. Here are the 5 things. The first thing is we need to help people have direction. We need to show them, help them see where they're going. Because depending on what their career plans are, that will affect what colleges they want to go to. Now, I have tools that can help people who want to go to MIT, Harvard, Cambridge, Oxford in terms of brainstorming, preparation, applying, studying, SAT, ACT, strategies, all of that. So we want to help students to go to these institutions if that's what fits with the career plan for that student. That's number one. We need to help students have a career direction. And so here's an example of what that would look like. Right here, I have 2 sets of books. This is on computer science. So if they want to be a computer science major, it might make sense to start learning how to code right away. And so even if they're in middle school, they need to start coding, getting used to Excel, Word, PowerPoint, but then more so the Excel, Python, and so on and so forth. So if you want to learn computer science, reach out to amosthemathguy@gmail.com if you want to learn Python or Excel. Number 2, this is another book here called CT Handbook. So the CT Handbook and the Gifted Minds. Gifted Minds is the biography of Dr. Raymond Diamadian, who did work in MRI physics. But this is for those who want to become medical physicists or just who want to learn about the world of CT and MRI. So imagine if somebody has a goal for physics, computer science, math, or chemistry. If you're interested in any of those, reach out to amosthemathguy@gmail.com and I can share some resources and guidance with you. But if you know where you're headed, then we can talk about directions as far as colleges and what you should explore. If you want to become a medical doctor, maybe look into Johns Hopkins and so on and so forth. So number 1 is we need to have the career direction for students. Number 2, we need to help students to have rigor in their studies of mathematics. Mathematics is one of the most important fields of study because it opens the door to many fields that you can get into: medicine, engineering, computer science, and so on. And so what I have here is the Singapore Math series that basically takes students from kindergarten to about 6th grade. But if a student is very good at fractions, decimals, and percents, there's no reason why they can't just do pre-algebra. So whenever they're ready, they do pre-algebra and then they move into algebra and so on and so forth. My goal for students is I actually help them get into calculus by about 9th or 10th grade so that they can do Calc 1, Calc 2, Calc 3, discrete math, differential equations, linear algebra, statistics before they graduate high school. So that's 21 credits of math. We're going to normalize that. So calculus, right now, people are like, oh, it's in 12th grade, I'll get there someday. No, we need to remove this summer break and help people do even a half hour of math. Just a half hour of math goes a long way because you don't have to repeat everything you don't have to repeat a lot when you get into the fall. So that's why I do that with math. Now, here's the cool thing, a quick update. I have a curriculum that I've put together, a framework called Journey Through Numbers, From Counting to Calculus with Amos the Math Guy. However, there are other books that talk about counting to calculus, such as this one by David Schneiker and Keith Cresson called Understanding Mathematics from Counting to Calculus, and then from Dr. Michael Petras called From Counting to Calculus. That's this one, right? So we have resources in our library that can help guide you all the way to Calculus 5, right? And then this one is called Mathematics for Machine Learning. Why don't we take the mathematics book for machine learning and understand what is expected of students? And one of the big topics here is linear algebra. Well, it's in linear algebra, and that's systems of equations and matrices. So now students who are doing the work in math, they are able to look and see, these are the topics I need to know. And so this stack is that it provides them with rigor from a program called Singapore Math, and I have a video course that is coming out this fall for Singapore Math. So if you're in the Singapore Math series and you're looking for a video course to go along with the topics your child is learning, reach out to amosthemathguy@gmail.com. So we need career direction. We need content, rigor, solid content. Number 3, we need study skills. How do we study well and have a life? If you want to become the next Leonard Euler or be one of the best at MIT, well, you get good books on study skills. Books such as Peak by Dr. Anders Ericsson. Books such as How to Be a High School Superstar by Dr. Carl Newport. Books such as Learning to Learn or Learning How to Learn. Books such as The 3 R's. Books such as The 7 Laws of Teaching. And then I do have a book called Tools for Mastering Mathematics. Amos, Tarfa, and Nathan Jersett. We wrote this about 10 years ago. And my first book from Nigeria, this is from a long time ago, 2006. But anyway, so we are excited to provide study skills. And so that's the other piece that I build into my course. Every student needs to have a notebook dedicated to each math class. And in America, unfortunately, they don't require you to have notebooks. And that's not a good thing. So you want to have notebooks so that you can take excellent notes that you can review later on. So we need to have career direction for our students. We need to help them have direction. Once they have direction, they can then think about what college will help them with that. We need to have content, solid content. So whatever school you attend, you can keep doing your homework and your syllabus at school, but do you want to have a math curriculum that you can follow, an online program that makes sure that you are ready for calculus at the high, like you are confidently, like you have confidence to do calculus, right? Because here's the problem. You could do all the math in school, and then when you're done with high school, you find out that you're still short of where you need to be in your math. My math program guarantees that you do calculus with confidence. That's just what I expect. In Nigeria, all 12th graders have to do calculus, at least when I was in Nigeria back in the day. So calculus is not just that we have to do it because society says we must. It's because it's beautiful. It's just a beautiful field of study. We'll talk about that more in another video. Number 4, we need to have some inspiration. So let's read Leonard Euler's story. That as a blind mathematician, he was publishing 50 papers a year. Let's read James Clerk Maxwell's story about the work he did and publishing papers at the age of 15. Let's read about the 5 equations that changed the world, just to inspire you. Let's read some inspiring entrepreneur story, right? This is from Turtle Twins. They have people like Elon Musk and John Rockefeller and so on and so forth. They have some interesting stories there about entrepreneurs. And then what about Fermat's last theorem? Why don't we all just kind of work on some of that this summer, right? Invite people to your house, have some pizza, and do some math problems. And then, so we need to understand and be inspired, but let's also bring it to life. I call it the law of relevance. The law of relevance is, let's talk about tools and weapons. Let's talk about 2084, which is the artificial intelligence and the future of humanity. Let's talk about the implications of the discoveries that we're learning from all these books we're reading, right? So we have career direction, we have content that is available to be mastered. You could keep doing your work at school and you could use this, but if you're homeschooled, if you want to just use our curriculum as your main dish, reach out to amosthemathguy@gmail.com or amosthemathguy.com. Study skills. We talked about study skills and we talked about how it is important to know how to learn. The book Peak by Anders Ericsson talks about deliberate practice. There is a way to learn. Number 4, we need some inspiration. Give your students math history. Give your students good resources about implications. Now, this book right here, The Abolition of Man by C.S. Lewis, it's kind of interesting that even back in the 1940s, education was kind of falling apart. And we can't go back in that way. We need to inspire students to care. And that's part of what the Third Education Revolution does by Dr. Bujal Mangalwadi. So we're going to integrate this into our YouTube series this summer because we want to think about what it looks like to educate into the 21st century. And lastly, what is the last set of books that we need to talk about? Policy, education policy. There's books on policy and strategies. This one is called Rethinking Math Learning. Teach your kids 1 year of math in 3 months. There's a book called Mathematics for Human Flourishing. It's not so much on policy, but it's just on the beauty of math and how teaching it a certain way can really inspire the next generation of mathematicians. The secrets to Singapore's world-class maths curriculum. Singapore has been like the #1 in math for 15 years in a row. Well, 15 years. In the last 15 years, they've been a leader in math excellence. So what is it about their curriculum that is really solid? We're going to talk about that more, but that's a great resource. And then the Math Fixed. This is from the man who's with Wolfram Alpha and Mathematica. This is Conrad Wolfram, and he spent time writing a book about the math fix. He went to Cambridge, by the way. So I really appreciate that he's written a book to help us think about how to fix the math curriculum. I would say there's some areas where I would just say we do what he's... So when it comes to the math fix, I'm just going to finish this out. We need to make sure that we help students to see the applications of math in today's world, but what if we also help them to do some of the other topics that are still good to know? Their times tables, their multiplication facts, at least learn some long division, but let's not make them do them for hours on end, right? So these are some of the things I would love to discuss more when we talk about this book. But those are the 5 categories of resources that people need to consider to be the next generation of scientists, mathematicians, and thinkers. This is a Laterno magazine called Now, the magazine of Laterno University, Humanity and Technology Informed by Faith. Very interesting discussion. If you want to be a world-class mathematician, get used to reading research papers, or world-class scientist. Start reading articles about different things going on in the field. So, I hope this was informative and encouraging as you process what it takes to raise the next generation of scientists, mathematicians, and thinkers. I look forward to making more videos in this series, and please reach out to amosthemathguy@gmail.com or amosthemathguy.com for any curriculum needs in science and mathematics especially. Take care and have a blessed day.